So what we learned in the last two Oisias, and Ois Dalet and Hey, the Rebbe brings from each one of the Rabbeim, each one in their own way, how they explain that this world is Atzmos, and therefore Hashem's desire, Hashem's purpose, Hashem's essence is specifically down here. Whereas any of the spiritual worlds, no matter on which level it is, it's Giluyim, it's revelation. Revelation means it's revealing something that's higher, it's a descent. Or even more than that, as the Rebbe brings from the Rebbe Rashab, that the difference between Atzmos and Giluyim is that Giluyim is separate from Atzmos, meaning it's not just that Giluyim is going down a level, because it's obviously coming from something higher than it, and the world can't be there in order to go down a level, but even more than that, Giluyim means it's revealing. It's not the thing itself. On the contrary, revealing means it's something that's revealing something else. Etzem is the essence. And therefore, the essence of Hashem can't be anywhere where it's only revelation. The essence of Hashem is specifically down here where the world becomes an existence. Everything else is spiritual revelation. That idea is brought out even more, like the Rebbe continues with the concept of Shtus D'Kedusha. Shtus D'Kedusha is go beyond yourself. Don't do things that make sense, that's revelations. Do what your essence pushes you to do. Do something which is even beyond understanding and feeling the concept of essence. And that's why, as the Rebbe continues to explain, the dira batachtoinim, the dwelling place for Hashem, when a person lives somewhere, living in a place shows on the very essence. It's not being there, it's not coming there, it's not visiting there, it's not doing something there, it's living there. The Atzmos of Hashem lives in this physical world. The amazing concept that we have from it is two things. First of all, we learn the importance of practical mitzvahs in this world, the physical action. And second of all, we learn the excitement and the greatness of what we have down here in the physical world is that there is the revelation of the Atzmos of Hashem. That's all also connected with what the Rebbe explains in this year's Basi Legani. In the Basi Legani, the Rebbe said 40 years ago in Tafshin Lamed Zayin, the difference between Panim and Acher. Acher is behind, like the nape, the neck, the back of the neck, meaning something which is there for something else. Panim is the essence, the difference between Yichud Tata and Yichud Ilah. Yichud Tata means there's a world and there happens to be Hashem. Yichud Ilah means there is Hashem and that's it, the essence of Hashem. And the difference is that everything in the time of Galus is from Chitzonius Atik, from Acher, from the outer essence of Atik, whereas in the time of Mashiach, the revelation will be from Pnimius Atik, from the very inner essence of Hashem. And we prepare for that by already now having a connection to this. And this is how the Rebbe continues in the next Ois, in Ois Vav, to say that what the Frierdiker Rebbe says in the Maimer is that the Dira Batachtoinim is through transforming the Shtus de L'Umazet to Shtus de Kedusha. That's why the Beis HaMikdash, the Mishkan, was made of Atzei Shittim. Where do you make a place for Hashem? In the very concept of shtus, which is what everything in our world is shtus, foolishness, removing us from the reality that Hashem is everything. Shtus means the foolishness of thinking that we have another existence. What do we do? How do we make a place for Hashem? By taking the same shtus and transforming it into shtus of Kedusha. Not doing things because I understand, because it makes sense, but going beyond just because that's the will of Hashem, that's what Hashem wants, even though it's beyond what makes sense. And in order to explain this idea, so the Rebbe says that just like it says that Hashem is Magi Devarav L'Yakov, what he does, he tells us to do as well. In other words, that everything that we're doing, Hashem himself does it, so to speak. When we talk about bringing the essence, Hashem brings the essence. That's why we say it's coming from Pnimius Atik. The Rabbeim also, whatever they demand from us, they themselves also did. Not only that, but the fact that they did it, and they even allowed us to know that they did it, that itself gives us the power to do it as well. And this is an amazing thing, because now, in the Maimer, something which doesn't happen in a Maimer, sometimes you can have a story, one story, two stories. Here in the Maimer, as part of the Maimer, the Rebbe goes on to tell a story of each one of the Rabbeim, which means it's such an important thing, this concept. And in order to give us the strength, as the Rebbe is starting Basi Legani, as the Rebbe is giving us and setting for us the mission for our generation of how we do it, the Rebbe is also giving us these stories, which stories is not just an explanation, but stories actually, rather than Giluyim, it's Etzem. A story is the essence because it's talking about the Rebbe, it's talking about not an understanding, but an essence of something that happened. And this story gives us the strength that we can also behave in such a way. So Rebbe tells now stories of each one of the Rabbeim regarding Avas Yisrael, and Avas Yisrael in a way specifically of Shtus Dikdusha. Avas Yisrael, first of all, means not just Avas Hashem and Avas HaTorah, where I love something and I'm doing it because I love it. I need a spiritual gratification from it. But Avas Yisrael is where I put myself on the line to give to someone else. That's not Giluyim, not something which is for me, but rather Etzem, where it's because that's what Hashem wants. And specifically Avas Yisrael in a way which is Shtuz Dikdush, in a way that doesn't make sense. In a way where we see how each one of the Rabbeim, and again the fact that the Rebbe should put each one means that it's not enough just a general thing that all the Rabbeim did these things, or one story. But we need each one of the Rabbeim, and the fact that there's different stories means each one has something that the other doesn't have. Each one is bringing it to another level. This idea of giving up the most important thing, giving up things which are spiritually important, which are important for every type of spirituality in order to help another Jew physically and materially. And so the Rebbe tells the stories firstly of the Alter Rebbe, that the Alter Rebbe in the middle of davening, elsewhere it says it was Yom Kippur or Shabbos, here the Rebbe just mentions the fact that it was the middle of davening, took off his talis, went to the forest, chopped wood, and brought the wood and cooked, made a fire in order to cook a soup for a woman who had just given birth, and there was no one at home to feed her, and she needed it for pikuach nefesh in order to help her. Now the Alter Rebbe is busy davening. He's davening, he's connecting to Hashem. More than that, a Rebbe, he's connecting to Hashem, it's not for him. He's connecting the whole Seder Ishtalshlos. He's connecting everything that there is in creation. This is the most important thing, and yet in the middle of his davening, he's able to realize that there is a woman somewhere in the edge of town that needs a soup, and to go and chop wood and give her the soup. We'll go, Mitzvah Hashem, tomorrow and try and perhaps go a little more into these stories, but let's just talk about the stories themselves. The Mittler Rebbe, who someone came and complained to him in Yechidus. He complained that about Avedis that young people complain about, Chatis Nurim. And the Mittler Rebbe rolled up his sleeve and showed him, take a look. Look at my arm. Look how it's dried out, and that's all from your Chatis Nurim. The Rebbe says here's an amazing thing. The Mittler Rebbe is removed. That was the whole thing. And remember, we learned that the Mittler Rebbe is removed from the world. He's not connected himself to physical, material aspects of the world. He's completely connected to godliness, to spirituality. And yet here he's so connected with one single chassid. And not just a chassid, someone who has these issues, and he's so connected to him that his Avedas have an effect on his health to the extent that his skin is dried out on his arm from it. Which means his connection to the physical, to this one person, despite his needing to be connected to Klal Yisrael, and here he's connected to one specific person in a way that it actually has an effect on him. The Tzemach Tzedek, before davening, and again we can understand the Tzemach Tzedek's davening, and especially when we know the story, that it was a situation where the Tzemach Tzedek needed to clarify certain things from his grandfather, the Alter Rebbe, and the Alter Rebbe had promised him that even after his histalkus, that whenever he would want, he would be able to see him, he would come and answer his questions. Now obviously these aren't just questions that he has for himself, these are questions that he has which he needs for the highest and most important things of everything. And yet, and in order to be able, he wasn't able to see the Alter Rebbe. In order to be able to see the Alter Rebbe, he's now going to a special place and preparing himself to daven and to do things that a Rebbe knows, which is going to help him to be able to see the Alter Rebbe. And yet, he's able to realize that there's a Jew who needs a loan for his parnasa, to go take off the talus from his shoulder, go home and get the money to give it to him. And it's not just the going and getting the money, but realizing this in the middle of when he's busy with the things which are the highest things in the world. And similarly with the Rebbe Maharash. The Rebbe Maharash made a special trip from Kurart to Paris. It was a few-hour trip, and a few hours there, spending their money, spent everything in order to check into the most expensive hotel, where he went into the game room, and there's a Jew over there drinking Yain Nesach, and he said, "Junger man, Yain Nesach is mitamtem halev ha'meach zayayid," and it had an effect. And the Jew did tshuva, and he came back to the Alter Rebbe and to the Rebbe Maharash, and not only that, but an entire family of God-fearing Jews came out of him as a result of this. But here's the story of the Rebbe Maharash, who he himself didn't have time for anything. He was busy with whatever things a Rebbe is busy with, to the extent that even things that usually a Rebbe does at length, which is saying Chassidus and davening, the Rebbe Maharash did them in short. That's how busy he was with what? Not with his own personal things. With the most important things in the world, and yet for one Jew, to help one Jew, he spent hours on a trip in order to help one Jew. And the same thing is with the Rebbe Rashab. In the beginning of his Nesius, there was something, a physical, a material issue, and he had to go to Moscow in order to get rid of a Gzeda against, which was again Parnasa to Jews. And his brother said to him, the Razah, he said to him, "You're a Rebbe, you're busy, your time is precious. Not only that, it's hard, you're going to have to go. It's not just travel, it's travel and find connections, etc., etc. I know the language well, I have the connections. Let me do it, just tell me what to do." And the Rebbe Rashab said, no, the Rebbe Rashab went himself. Instead of a Rebbe saying, you go do it. No, this is to help Jews materially, that he went and did it. And interestingly, over here, the Rebbe doesn't tell a specific story about the Frierdiker Rebbe. And it seems like because that's the entire essence of the Frierdiker Rebbe, or it seems like this is Yud Shvat and the Frierdiker Rebbe is here with everything of him. We don't have to tell, if we tell one specific story, we may be limiting it. But the Rebbe says, so many times it happened with the Frierdiker Rebbe that he would put his spiritual life on the line for another Jew's material welfare, someone who's totally incomparable to him in the level that this person is. And then many times the Frierdiker Rebbe did this. And this is all the idea. It's an interesting thing, everybody knows, and I'm not going to go at length into the story, that when the Rebbe was preparing, so to speak, the Maimer Basi Legani, the night before Yud Shvat, the Rebbe stopped in the middle of the Maimer, the middle of getting ready for the Maimer, and asked someone else to look for the Svarim and the Marim HaKoimes. All the Rebbe went either to get a doctor for a sick woman or to go visit someone in the hospital, whatever it may have been in the middle of the night. Again, the Rebbe could have sent someone else to do that. The Rebbe is busy with the things which is the most important thing of everything. But all these stories of the Rebbeim are not just there to tell us the greatness of the Rebbeim, but to give us this strength, to not be looking for Giluyim, Because Iker Shechina is batachtoinim, in helping another Jew, where it's not Giluyim, where it's not my spiritual gain, where it's not even the spiritual gain of everyone, where it's putting everything on the side for the idea of etzem, of helping another Jew. And in a way of Shtuz D'Kedusha, that it doesn't make sense. It just like it doesn't make sense on the other side to not do what Hashem wants. Over here it's the opposite. It doesn't make sense not to connect to spirituality. It doesn't make sense to give everything up. And yet it's shtus. It's beyond seichel. It's the essence of how a Jew connects to his essence, the essence of Hashem, and this strength we get and this power we get from the Rabbeim.